Welcome to Obstacle Running Adventures,
the podcast that fuels your passion for obstacle course racing, running, and adventure.
Since 2017, we have released weekly episodes for the seasoned pros,
weekend warriors, and everything in between.
We discuss the industry news, travel for live coverage,
and interview athletes and key voices in the athletic community.
We cover it all, from fundraising events, personal trials,
to world records, FKTs, and world championships.
Standing on the corner.
Now let's get started with your hosts.
Lost all my clothes.
Michael Stefano and Caitlin Ritter.
Hey guys, it's Michael Stefano.
And Caitlin Ritter.
And Caitlin, how was your weekend?
I got... I went to a chiropractor.
Yes, you got cracked.
I did get cracked, but you told me I'm not allowed to say that.
Yep.
He, I think, maybe helped with my hip. I haven't had hip pain since the day after.
Oh, that's huge.
Yeah.
Okay.
But he turned me into a vampire and then pressed me in half like I was a pretzel, and it went pop, 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 pop.
Yeah. Oh, good. I'm glad that you had a good experience. He didn't do as well with me that time. Looking to go to physical therapy to I think chiropractors are good for short-term resolutions, but physical therapy, you got to do the work. So
yeah, I should have brought that up at my doctor's appointment today. Can you prescribe me physical therapy?
Yeah, you definitely should have brought that up. And also, I'm glad that Lucy is sleepy because she was kind of a bit of a menace yesterday.
She was the biggest menace yesterday.
Yeah, and luckily she's not as sleepy as we were last episode. I was so tired during that intro, and I listened back and I'm like, Jesus.
I don't remember.
But didn't sleep well last night too, but I still have more energy right now. So
you know what's been happening to me in my sleep?
What?
I've been waking up and my hands have been tingly. So then I have to sleep on my back with my hands out straight, so this way they're not tingly, like the old lady I am.
Fascinating. Let's give a shout out to our sponsors.
Shout out Mudgear. Use code ADVENTURE for 15% off your next Mudgear purchase. And Caterpie. Use code OCRReport20 for 20% off your next Caterpie purchase. And if you want to run a Spartan, Deca, or Tough Mudder, use code OCRReport20 to save 20% off your next race.
Which, again, contrary to what you may think that this episode is about, I do love Tough Mudder. So
we love Tough Mudder.
I do love Tough Mudder. Let's give a shout out to our $5+ patron supporters.
Jason Dupree, Samantha Thompson, Bradley Keel, Charlotte Engelman, Aaron Grindstaff, Laura and Stephen Ritter, Hank and Arlene Stefano, Sophia Hernity.
I could feel you looking at me. That was weird.
Cheryl Goodwin, Jessica Johnson, Christopher Hoover, Kevin Gregory Jr., Evan Irick, Brent George, Logan Nagel, Seth Runderknecht, Steve Bacon, Robert Landman, and Jules Estes.
Yes, thank you guys so much for the support, past, future, and present Patreon supporters. We greatly appreciate that.
I was staring at you because I wanted you to know that I could do this without reading the names.
Very nice. And a shout out to the OCR Report for being a great home for us on the internet.
And to William Hicks,
the Podfather. Check it out over at theocrreport.com. The City Field race video was released, and I actually watched it. It was pretty good for what they had given. We had 2 rabbits, and yeah, it was pretty good. And a shout out to our sponsored athletes.
Javier Escobar, who I keep quoting, Kelly Sullivan, Ryan Brizzolara, and Joshua Reed.
And Kevin Gregory.
Did I not say him?
No, you didn't.
Oh.
I get to poll results, which concerns something that Caitlin said she was going to walk off the show last episode. She was being a bit dramatic.
Spicy and feisty.
So I asked, skating Olympian skills, would they transfer to ninja? Not many people voted in this one because I kind of shoved it in the middle of quick news, which I shouldn't have done, but 20% of people said yes, 60% of people said no, and 20% of people said no preference. I don't know what we're talking about.
We love when that happens.
That is a great throwback joke. Meme of the week? I don't think we have.
I have a meme.
Oh, you do have a meme. Well,
yeah.
Since Caitlin found it, that means I have to describe it.
Well, I guess it's not a meme, it's a video.
Okay. How am I going to describe a video?
You're going to use your words.
Okay. When they say... Oh, God.
Mike.
When they say you work out so much, why can't I see your abs? And it's a picture of a guy boogie boarding. And I was kayaking. It says, here's why. And it shows a whole bunch of food. And then a powerlifter says... way too much. Wait, this was a horrible idea. Never videos from Meme of the Week.
It's not that hard. It says when they say you don't work out, here's why, and then it's all the food.
Uh-huh. and
then
then
it
read
says
all that
abs is not
instantly
a thing
while you're
of
trying to.
power. It's just a sign that you don't eat good enough food.
Yeah. Caitlin found a way to ruin the the meme of the week format, which is already supposed to be.
Okay, do you
kinda
want a real
strange.
meme?
Yeah, a meme.
Okay,
A
what
picture.
about this?
Okay.
Is this a picture?
That's a picture. So it says, "You look tired. Thanks. I'm training for an ultramarathon to cope with the fact that we are living in a crumbling empire led by a tyrannical maniac during the fall of late-stage capitalism." That was first take, guys. It shows a picture of a woman taking a nap on a rock somewhere in the mountains.
Is that not a good take?
Yeah. Badass of the week. Did we have one? Oh, those pack of dogs.
Oh my gosh, those cutie patooties. So a group of dogs got snatched and they broke out of like the truck, and they were a pack in China. They're a pack of neighborhood dogs or village dogs, like all knew each other really well. So what they did was they led themselves home.
It was like a Chinese Homeward Bound.
Yes.
Very cool.
It was so cute. It says 7 dogs stolen from their owners have gone viral after escaping their captors and making their way home. The group is believed to have traveled around 17 kilometers together, led by a corgi across the highway and the fields.
Nice.
It's the best news.
Yeah. Let's get to the quick news starting again. Well, I guess for the last time. Giving a shout out to the New England OCR Expo, which is next weekend. Oh my God, am I not prepared for it? We hope to see you there. Again, we have a 100-meter course, a deck of strong. Some people are going to be taking on with a ruck. Got a whole bunch of vendors. We got a dunk tank, I believe.
Yeah, I don't really understand the duck tank.
Well, it's not a duck tank.
Dunk tank.
Yes, yeah. So I think something might have happened with that. But we will see. It's going to be a good time. We don't have...
kids race?
Yep, there's a kids event going on, and teddy bear crawl. Lots of good stuff. So we don't have like individual speakers this time. We're going to have like a panel discussion. So I think that should be really interesting. I got to figure out a place to plug in my mic so we can hear that too.
Yeah. In quick news, a lot of happy quick news.
Yeah, a lot of like life updates.
Not for us.
No. Starting with Jeff Moulton.
Jeff Moulton posted Olivia Page Moulton, born Friday 3/13. Oh, Friday 13th. At 6 pounds 7 ounces and 19 inches long, born so fast and mighty, we're over the moon in love.
Yeah, congratulations
She's cute.
to the both of them there. Speaking of Olivia.
Oh, what a good transition,
yeah, I was ready
Mikey.
for that one. Alex Youngworth, old host of the show, co-host of the show. And Olivia, who was part of the team, just had a baby as well. I don't know if they had a post.
Not yet, but they texted us so we can share it. Alex texted us at 12:28 a.m. on March 20th saying...
I was actually sleeping for that, but yes.
Yes. Lily Marie Youngworth, born March 19th, 2026 at 11:36 p.m., 7 pounds, 5 ounces, and 19 inches.
Yeah, so congratulations to him. I don't know if I ever had the chance to take him, but it's a place I love going with friends. Level 99 is coming to Paramus, New Jersey.
Mike, that is so close to my parents' house.
Yeah, I am very
so
excited.
Close.
Like they're gonna have different. They're gonna have different rooms. We're gonna get all the fucking stars. All the stars. I need to do an episode on level 99. I'm gonna reach back out to the company because I want it. I want to do an episode so bad. Next up, talk about life updates. Level 99, you're engaged with activities. Well, this person's engaged to another human person.
I don't know what that says.
Shoot.
Always and forever.
You making that up?
Yeah.
Wait. Could pull it up and translate
his Instagram handle?
It's Captain Gilligan, aka Matt Gill.
Should I sing the Gilligan's Island song? So sit right back and enjoy a trail of a fateful trip.
But before translating, it says Jits und für Emir red heart emoji.
He has a private Instagram, so I couldn't just find him.
He got engaged. So congratulations to the both of them there.
I was so close.
What?
It's now and forever.
Okay.
I said always and forever.
Nice. And then we have another engagement.
I'm really excited for this one.
Yeah.
Not that I'm not excited for everybody else. Christopher Mendoza posted the Darlins, and it's like stop action. Is that what that's called?
With a series of pictures.
And him and Nick Wilds are engaged.
Yeah, congratulations to the two of them. Hopefully we're seeing them in New Jersey or maybe Killington. We have to get a reach. Oh, we're seeing them in Colorado too.
We're
seeing you all over the damn country.
Colorado,
Chris,
Vermont,
New
Jersey.
Yeah, I said New Jersey.
London. right? Isn't he going to World Stuff Is
Yeah,
Better?
that might be the plan. That's right.
He's gonna see me. How many laps does he usually run?
At least
20?
double what you will. Yeah.
He's gonna see me so often.
Mm-hmm. Well, congratulations to them.
Yeah.
Hope to congratulate you in person over some ice cream, right?
Yes.
Which, by the way, I had a friend reach out concerned about my ice cream consumption, and I just want to assure people, like, I talk about ice cream way more than I eat ice cream.
Who is concerned?
Jason.
Oh, Jason, eat a pint of ice cream.
He just thinks like we eat ice cream all the time because we talk about it a lot.
I would give up every single dessert if it meant I got to eat ice cream for the rest of my life.
I could go the rest of my life without eating ice cream, but like you don't like to eat ice cream alone.
Well, yeah, because when I'm like, hey, Mike, you want to get ice cream tonight? And you say no, then I'm like, oh, this fat ass of mine should not be getting ice cream.
Well, let's be real. Like ice cream's like one of the many reasons
group.
why I'm overweight. It's not a food group.
It is a food group.
Next up, shout out to Jarrod Newby. I kind of screwed over this transition thing, but amazing ultra runner, but rucking runner. So this post comes to us from Ruck Race League and says there really aren't any words about his performance, which is like a weird way to start off a post, but I get it. But I want to share a few words about this human. Jarrod Newby is an incredible, humble, genuine, and caring man, father, and son. He is generous with sharing his expertise with the community, and for as far as his feet are, fast as his feet are, they always seem planted and grounded, and yes, he's an absolute stud athlete. We are fortunate to have Newby as our champion and ambassador. He demonstrates what we believe is possible with RRL, not just by shattering what we think is possible physically, but by doing so with grace and straight up good dude-ness. Newby, we salute you. And yeah, any reason to shout out like Jarrod Newby and some of the awesome people in our community. So,
do you remember
hope to see you next weekend?
Stayed at his house.
I stayed at his house a couple times.
Oh, I've only stayed there once.
Yeah, stayed with his house in 2020 before the pandemic.
Is that when I stayed there?
Nope. Yeah, I think we went a few years later when we covered the Fit Challenge and Noob Sanity crossover event.
Oh, I just
where
remember
I fell off the super, super tall obstacle.
Yeah.
And somehow didn't die.
I just remember they left their house unlocked in the middle of the night because we got there so late and they were very flexible.
They're great people.
With us.
Flexible. I see what you're doing there. There you go.
Yep. So big news on the insurance front. Tough Mudder, Spartan.
Really get their interest by starting off with insurance. Christ.
Tough Mudder, Spartan, and Deca have now partnered with Flex. And if you're like me, and I was like, what the heck is Flex? They said, at Tough Mudder, we believe the best prescription for a long, healthy life is a challenge that forces you to show up. That's why we've partnered with Pay with Flex. You can now use your pre-tax HSA or FSA funds to pay for your Tough Mudder registration and save up to $30 to $40. So
that's pretty cool.
We unfortunately don't have this because we don't have
need it. Yeah.
HSA or FSA, but that's a super cool benefit.
Yeah, I like that. Like preventative care kind of, right?
Yeah,
unless you get hurt, in which case it's like...
That is real interesting. So your health insurance can pay for you to go get hurt.
I mean, hopefully you're not getting hurt.
Right,
but still. There's a chance. Secret link, there's 5 of them down below, but let's get to what this episode is all about. Kind of about potentially getting hurt in a way. But Caitlin saw a post in the World's Toughest Mudder community Facebook group concerning water safety at the Lake Elsinore Tough Mudder. So we reached out to follow up with the person who posted it. So the poster, Jarrod Lumpkin, has been running OCR since 2012. Before I have, in 2012, has been an active member in the Tough Mudder community and just loves the sport and the community overall. We talk about his experience at the recent event. I think it was the official one was what? The Tough Mudder Los Angeles weekend, right?
Yes.
Yeah, where they also had like the Infinity and all that. We talk about his experience there, how issues could have been resolved, and worries about the future of the brand specifically. So all kind of doom and gloom topic, but I tried to have some fun with it too and learn more about him and stuff. But again, I say it multiple times in the interview, I just want this to be the warning rather than a repeat of things that have happened in the past, because those who have not learned their history are doomed to repeat it and all that stuff. So yeah, let's get to the interview with Jarrod. So we'll start off with your name and where you're from.
Sure. So I'm Jarrod Lumpkin. I live here in Milton, Georgia, and been running Tough Mudder events since 2012. Basically through an old meetup group, somebody had posted that we were going to, or that the Tough Mudder was coming to town. So, hey, let's train to run a Tough Mudder. And at the time, I was probably 35 years old. So not quite a midlife crisis at that point. But I said, hey, yeah, that's a great idea. but everybody that recruited kind of backed out. But one of the guys said, "Well, I'll come down there, but I'll take photographs of it for you." So it's like, "All right, great, fine, come on down." And so this is February 2012, Washington, Georgia, and it was probably 40 degrees outside, gust of maybe 30 miles an hour. Woefully underprepared is the best statement that I can describe. I was probably almost hypothermic by the end. I think that I blacked out in electroshock. I don't quite remember crawling out of it or anything like that. And my future wife was there, the time girlfriend.
Oh, cool.
And she's like, "Yeah, you're nuts, you're crazy." I'm like, "Yeah, but I want to do it again." So I did 2 more events in 2012, and then it just kind of, built from there. In 2017, when they introduced the toughest concept, I did toughest in Atlanta, and then I decided to do world's toughest in Vegas at the time because, that was the last year for Vegas, so the cliff jump was there, and they've been running the toughest ever since then. So it's been an interesting ride. So the most recent event was event number 89, and hopefully it'll stick around and I can get 100 out of it. But we'll see. We'll see.
So I got a couple things to unpack there. One, the amount of times that I've had people come on the show and talk about their first experience with OCR and how it was supposed to be a huge group and everyone backed out. I'd say more than half the people. So it's so funny how we all have that in common. And two, you're one of the few people that has me beat with your start in OCR. I didn't start until August of 2012 too. So you're around for the crazy days back then.
Yeah, not quite the OG. Like the 2010, I think, was when they first had their first formal event. So not quite that old, but close enough, basically. And then I ended up actually. So that same year. In a different group, we actually decided to run the Spartan Sprint in Atlanta, the Super up in Virginia, and then the Beast over in South Carolina. So I got my Spartan trifecta in 2012.
Wow!
And then I ran a couple of other Spartan events after that. But I just always liked the Tough Mudder, the atmosphere, the community, the camaraderie associated with that. And certainly Sean at the start line, Clinton at the finish line, just kind of added to that. And so it just kind of kept drawing me in year after year. And it's just kind of a fun way to stay in shape, stay motivated, and just pick things out on the calendar and just go for it.
Yeah.
So
when you said different group too, were you ever a part of, I think it was called Gormer back in the day, like the Georgia?
Yes, I was. I didn't run too many events with those guys, but yeah, I was in their Facebook group, for example. Andy Hardy, Matt B. Davis, a lot of those guys.
Yep.
So I'm kind of sad that it's no longer around. Although, granted, obstacle course racing is kind of the popularity of it as time has gone. It's kind of gone down a little bit. But they were a great group. Absolutely.
Yeah, up north we had the New England Spartans, and you couldn't go anywhere without seeing a whole bunch of them. And that's kind of gone to the wayside too. And then another thing, 2017, that was, while I didn't run it, I crewed. 2017 was my first World's Toughest Mudder too. So that was
all right.
Very, very interesting. Those penalties were brutal. So
absolutely. Well, and again, kind of a consistent story. Woefully underprepared. I remember. I don't know if I knew quite yet about the windbreaker, putting that on top of the wetsuit or anything like that. But that's kind of Actually, let me back up. So there was Funky Monkey, then Shawshanked, and again, not having a lot of awareness, if you will, of the headlamp. So I was in Shawshank. I got out of Shawshank. Headlamp fell out in Shawshank, and so I had to do the penalty. And the penalty was like this mile loop around this, unlit gravel course with Arctic Enema thrown in there in the middle of that.
And real quick, when you say a mile loop, you're not really exaggerating. These loops were long back then. Yeah.
Trust me. Yeah, this was those guys, they knew how to do penalty loops. Absolutely. And so that ultimately kind of took me out just because I couldn't run anymore. I was having to walk and having to find people that had headlamps on. So, but I remember staying in the tent overnight. But the benefit to that was I was able to listen to Sean and Clinton kind of riff back and forth during, on the PA system. So yeah, that was a lot of fun, but definitely, woke up the next morning and said, okay, look, I've gone 20 miles here. Hey, I'm going after 5 more, get that 25 mile patch. Plus, I got to do the cliff jump because I know it's going away. So that was also the fun. I just made that by, I think they closed it at noon or something like that, and I made the cutoff by like 10 minutes or something like that. So, yeah, I miss Las Vegas. That was a lot of fun.
It's crazy because I did my good friend at the time. Well, still friend. He did it, and I agreed to pit for him, but I was terrified of the cliff jump, and that's specifically why I didn't run it and why I started running it in 2018, 2019. But I remember looking back and seeing the people fall from like, it seemed like an absurd height, and it kind of was.
Right.
But I do wish that I got to say that I did that as well too, because like now it's all like real estate development and stuff now, which is kind of a bummer.
Yeah, I know exactly. Yeah. Now in 2018, I did not do whatever the subsequent version of that with the shipping containers, like 40 feet. I passed on that. Yeah, the stacks. That's right.
Yep.
Yeah, I passed on that one.
Because you had to climb up it too. Like that's a whole other. Yeah.
Well, exactly. It's like, yeah, the effort required to do said obstacle. I'll just do the half-mile penalty loop and be done with it at that point.
Yeah.
But again, similar thing in 2018. Again, still somewhat woefully underprepared and had to stay in the tent overnight. Of course, that was the one where it got below freezing. They were shutting down obstacles because, ice was forming. And
which helped me, but...
although, yes, when I was in the tent and I was listening to that, and I'm like, man, I wish I was out there. And then I could start skipping obstacles at that point. But that's okay. But then Tim came back in 2019 in Atlanta and got 50 miles at that point. So, okay, fine. I finally conquered that 50 mile mark. So that was a lot of fun. Yeah, it's been one heck of a ride. From 2012 all the way up to now. And yeah, I love again Tough Mudder, the brand, obviously the community and everybody that I've gotten to meet over the years and just have fun with. So yeah, so that's kind of where part of the basis for me kind of putting that post on Facebook about. Was really to kind of hopefully start a little bit of a conversation here because, you post, bankruptcy of Spartan acquisition, you're starting to kind of see this little slow bleed out of Tough Mudder. And, I'm not super happy about it, but, I'm not necessarily running the show. Obviously I don't really have that type of control over what they do. But the safety stuff is certainly on a slightly different level.
Right.
And so, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. So I mean, there's other stuff I want to talk about too, but like, let's get into that and then we'll finish on a high note at the end.
Sure. Absolutely.
Just so
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, definitely. Sounds
absolutely.
Good.
So Caitlin, my wife and co-host, saw a post that you made in the World's Toughest Mudder community group. Mm-hmm. So tell me about your experience at the most recent Tough Mudder in California.
Correct. Yeah. Lake Elsinore, which I think for them was a new facility. Well, maybe not for Spartan, but at least for Tough Mudder. Mm-hmm. And so I didn't run the Infinity Wave. So I just ran the normal 8 o'clock wave. So I don't recall if they did the safety briefing in the Infinity Wave. I couldn't swear to it because I was kind of half listening to that and then doing my my own prep for the next wave after that.
Right.
But what I can at least confirm is that, yes, in the 8 o'clock wave, and first of all, so Sean was not there as start line MC, Clinton was not there as finish line MC. So basically a brand new MC, never met before, never seen before. And so, we get into the corral. I just kind of walk up to the front and, he's basically, kind of getting everybody hyped up for it. I say tough, you say Mudder, had some, music going in the background. But he really didn't go anything or send anything further after that. It was basically, okay, guys, I got to get you out on time. So we're going to do a countdown, 10, 9, 8, blah, blah, blah. And then here you go. Okay. But no start line briefing at all, which I thought was, okay, it's a little interesting, but okay, I got to go run at this point. And so kind of off the bat, there was kind of one thing that was a little bit interesting, which I kind of indicated in the Facebook post. So for Berlin Walls, what was interesting was that the obstacle was backwards relative to the course. So as you ran up to it, you ran up to seeing the cleats on the bottom. And so normally the cleats are in the back. So normally you scale the wall, and then when you get to the top, then you've got the cleats to help you as you come off the obstacle. Well, it was backwards. And I'm like, okay, that's a little odd, but okay, fine. So kept on going. my only in general, just one of my other complaints was that the course markings were just really not that great. And if you actually look at the course map, you can kind of see it's a bunch of loop backs and stuff like that. And so I was a little not frustrated, but a little irritated that, okay, am I on the right path here? I think I'm on the right path. I'm following people. Maybe they know, maybe they don't know, but okay, fine. And so the next kind of issue that I had was that, so electric eel, which they now call shocks on the rock. So basically the pool of water that they add ice into as kind of this replacement for Arctic enema, because they didn't have Arctic enema as a standalone obstacle here. So they had this set up that you would go through it sideways, not lengthwise, front and back. And I've never seen that before. And so I asked the volunteer, and she said, like, no, they told us to do it this way, which was really interesting because you can't really enter the obstacle on the side without the electrodes literally being like right there on the edge. And I'm like,
Right.
okay, I'm not doing that. I'm gonna, again, I'm not doing infinity, so I don't have to lose a band for this. I'm like, okay, fine. So I'm gonna, not do that. Everything else was pretty much standard. I didn't have any issue with the rest of the course until I got to the aforementioned, what they called Creek Crusade, which was that picture on the Facebook post of kind of showing it really wasn't a creek, it was this pond in the middle. And so what's just on the original course map, they called it Swamp Stomp. And the path that they showed on Swamp Stomp was really not the path that we actually went on, during the actual event. So I don't know if there was a mix up there on what this obstacle was really supposed to be, but anyway, so the signage was in fact Creek Crusade, and there was no marking on the sign that said, oh, by the way, the water depth is 5 feet deep, 6 foot deep, something like that. Now on other obstacles, for example, Will Swung, Funky Monkey, they usually have, hey, water depth here, 5 feet, stuff like that. So going in, okay, right. Well, if you had the safety briefing, you can't swim, don't go in the water. But so we didn't have the safety briefing, they at least had those markings there. But there were no markings at all here. It was just simply just a sign for Creek Crusade. And I'm like, okay, that's interesting. So I walked in, or started walking into the lake, and I could see some folks out in the middle there. I could see some heads above water, but you can't really tell. Okay, maybe the water's deep, maybe they're touching the bottom, and or maybe they're just kind of just lazily kind of swimming through. So you don't really know till you get in there. And then when you finally get in there, then you realize, oh yes, by the way, I'm 5'10", and no, I can't touch the bottom anymore. And there was something else. The water was actually, it was colder than any other obstacle that I'd actually, been immersed in. So whether it was cage crawl, Will Swung, or anything like that, by far, this was at least felt 10 degrees cool or colder than any other obstacle that was out there. And I'm like, okay, great. I'll start swimming here. And so I started to swim, and then I heard behind me, I heard some folks say, hey, I can't swim. And I really wasn't trying to be kind of this rude prick about it. But the first thing out of my mouth was, if you can't swim, I turned around and said, if you can't swim, don't go in the water.
Which is like an ongoing, one, it's in the safety briefing, but two, it's like an ongoing joke in the Tough Mudder community, right, for those that don't know. Right.
Correct, because we all say, what? And Sean says, if you can't swim, don't go in the water. What? To emphasize, if you can't swim, don't go in the water. Now, fortunately, these folks said, oh, okay, well, we're just going to go off to the side, to the bank, and then we'll continue on that way. But the overall length of what I felt that I had to swim was at least 75 feet, maybe 100 feet. And so in that Facebook post, I went into Google Maps and tried to measure the distance. It showed the kind of 150 feet. That's probably a little bit of some exaggeration. It was probably closer to 100, but definitely near the end. I mean, I was starting to get tired at the end. And yes, I can swim, although granted, I don't normally swim with my ultra shoes on and my normal obstacle course racing gear on. But anyway, so finished the obstacle and got out. And then the way that the course was routed, it actually routed you back to this ramp that kind of overlooked the signage for Creek Crusade. So I confirmed, oh, by the way, it's the sign for Creek Crusade. So as I was walking around, continue on the course, then I saw one of the the TMHQ trucks, one of those white trucks that they have. And so I walked up to the guy and said, "Hey, you guys need to put a sign out for Creek Crusade that says, hey, it's 6 foot deep," because I had no idea about it. And there wasn't a volunteer or anybody that was warning people to say, "Hey, well, by the way, this is 6 foot deep." So finish the course. As I'm finishing up the course, all the little things start to add up at this point. And I'm like, you know what? They didn't do a safety briefing, which was odd. And so they didn't do the if you can't swim, don't go in the water. I'm like, well, let me go talk to somebody at TMHQ about this. So the first place that I went was to the Infinity Pit area because I knew there were some TMHQ folks there. And so there were 3 folks there, 2 folks wearing TMHQ shirt or shirts, and then one person wearing kind of this like Iron Man Hawaii shirts like that. So I think he worked for TMHQ. I don't really know. He kind of acted like he worked for them. But anyway, I walked up and said, "Hey guys, you guys need to do the safety briefing." And then I went over the story of, okay, my issue with Creek Crusade, 650, stuff like that. And so their response was, well, okay, take your feedback and fill out the post race survey, and we'll take it under consideration at that point. And I'm like, no, I don't want to do that because we need to do it now. We need to get the safety briefing going like right now, not in a post race survey, not for Atlanta, the next survey event. No, we need to do it now. But that didn't really go anywhere. They kind of blew me off, and I'm like, okay. So wasn't happy at that point. So I went back to the info tent and like, well, maybe I can find somebody else there. And so I ended up finding Luis that was there, and I had a little bit of conversation with him in the past, not a whole lot, but I did recognize him. I don't think he really recognized me at all. And so I kind of had the same conversation with him also to say, hey, you guys need to do the safety briefing, and then, oh, by the way, you need to go mark Creek Crusade. And it was kind of funny. He tried some active listening techniques on me that I don't think really worked very well. But ultimately, the gist of that conversation again was they kind of blew me off. And I'm like, okay, fine. I need to go. I want to do multi-laps today. I want to keep going. But they, but in both situations, they promised, yes, we'll talk to the MC. We'll fix this or whatever. But it wasn't a very encouraging, yes, we will immediately go out there and talk to the MCs.
Yeah, thanks for letting us know. We must have overlooked this. Appreciate the insight.
Yeah. Right, correct. But it was still, it wasn't like they were very eager to make any changes at that point. So I went back to the pit and was prepping for, the next lap order like that. But as I'm there, I'm actively listening to the MC and like, okay, well, maybe the 8 o'clock wave was an outlier. Maybe they are doing the safety briefing like that. And no, he didn't do the safety briefing again. He basically did a carbon copy of what he did, at the earlier 8 a.m. wave. And so, okay, fine. So I went out, ran that wave. Obviously, I know all the course now. I know all the issues with the course and stuff like that. But when I came through on the second time, then they had actually closed down Creek Crusade. And I didn't do a follow-up to figure out why they closed it down. If it was me that caused it to close down, if it was somebody else that said, hey, this is an issue, we can't resolve it, anything like that. So just that, I think for me, I think it was more, okay, there's kind of two separate issues. Yes, we didn't do the safety briefing. Yes, we didn't mark Creek Crusade, but kind of blowing me off on a safety issue is not a good, it's not a good sign here. I mean, look, when I, as a participant, care more about safety than the folks that are running the event, okay, there's a fundamental problem here and a fundamental disconnect that needs to be called out and needs to be dealt with. Because look, I'm sure, pardon the cat there, I'm sure that somebody has a responsibility at TMHQ for these events to make sure that the MC has something to say, right? And so whoever was supposed to have done that, pardon the cat again, whoever was supposed to have done that completely failed that day, because I never, at any point that I came back to the pit, I never heard any utterance of the safety briefing, nothing. Oh, and also, by the way, so, it's not just if you can't swim, don't go in the water. If you have metal in your body or if you've ever had a seizure, don't do electroshock obstacles. Again, that never got communicated at all. Now, granted, yes, does everybody sign the death waiver? Yes. Do they read it? Probably not. I don't know. but it was just kind of just this general lackadaisical attitude towards safety that I think really kind of said, okay, I need to at least, post about this, and at least kind of raise some awareness of it.
Yeah, I mean, a few things to touch on there. I can see TMHQ being like, it's common sense. Like, if you don't swim, don't go in the water. But like, also, it's your, I'm a behavioral analyst, so like controlling the environment. You want to create a safe environment, so
right,
no one drowns or gets hurt or this or that, or at least minimizes the chances of that. Right? You can't make it we're not bubble wrapping everybody.
Right.
At the same time, like,
right.
You're in a situation like normally I wouldn't like run through electrical cables either, but like here I am, like this is what you do here. And when you don't know how deep it is until like suddenly it's too deep, like I'm a decent swimmer, so I wouldn't be in like a situation like that. But I can't imagine the fear of like, oh my god, I can't touch the bottom anymore, and then they flail and they grab someone else. Like there's so many things that could go wrong here. And then Spartan, overarching Spartan is usually a little sometimes heavy-handed with like, hey, take the life vest. You think of Killington or whatever. And I'm surprised that they didn't have that either. So it seems like a failure in quite a few things. And again, I don't want to pin the blame on the MC because, as you said too, like you don't blame the learner. You got to blame the person who's supposed to tell them that, and puts them in an awkward position to like not know what to say and not, he didn't know that was on the course. I can almost guarantee you that. But it's also concerning to me for two reasons. One, obviously, there was the CrossFit incident where that unfortunate athlete
I remember that
drowned, and the the lifeguards that were there weren't active, like they didn't do anything. And there was an event actually close by you in Georgia again, Toughest East last year, where I had two athletes on, the men's winner and the women's winner. The man, Joe Rucco, pretty tall, said that he struggled to touch the bottom in some of the swim. And then the women's winner, Charity Bourne, was very short. She couldn't touch the bottom. And so that's concerning, adding the fact that there's no volunteers there. In Toughest East, the electricity went out, so it was dark. Just a whole bunch of red flags. And we do this because we love Tough Mudder. I love, it's my favorite.
Right.
I wish they were closer to me. We don't really have any events up in New England anymore, but
yeah, I know, right?
We just don't want anything to happen. And you had said too that you were present when the big Tough Mudder fatality happened as well. Do you talk about that
in 2013? Yeah, absolutely. And so he ran an earlier wave, than I did. And so what I was out there running. And so what I remember the most was, just running along, and then all of a sudden, maybe, 100 yards in front of me, I see this big ambulance just kind of just drive on by at that point. And then, when I finally got to the finish line, of course, there's no word about that or anything like that. But then, when I got to finish, I'm like, hey, what are we supposed to have walk the plank here today? And so out of that, that event has always kind of stuck with me as kind of this seminal moment on water safety, where again, kind of this perfect confluence of events of, basically kind of poor obstacle design, poor management of people, because what happened, he ended up jumping off, and then this person behind him kind of jumped off, not really with any cadence or anything like that. And then, maybe she landed on him, maybe not. We don't really know. But then the lifeguard took, a large amount of time to recognize and ultimately get out there. And so, yes, unfortunately, he drowned. But yeah, that's always kind of stuck with me is, okay, yeah, this is not, looks can be deceiving here of, oh, hey, I've got a lifeguard over there. And so if you kind of fast forward to this particular event, probably when I first, had to start swimming, the lifeguard was maybe, let's call it maybe 50 feet away. And, and so he wasn't out on a boat or anything in the middle of the pond. He was off to the shore. And I just kind of wonder if I'd actually drowned at that point, would he have even, yes, he probably would have seen it, but it's kind of hard, I think, based on his visibility to where I was, to kind of judge precisely, hey, where did I go down? Versus if you're out on the water on a boat, it's much easier to say, oh, you went down at this spot, this spot over here. But then also, yes, so Toughest Atlanta last year, yes, I was there for that.
Okay, I figured.
Yeah, absolutely. And so, yeah, I know exactly for that part of the course. So what was interesting is that it was kind of this little shoreline kind of water obstacle around this tree. And so you had the lifeguard that was on land, and correct, you had the portable light that was there. And so kind of a couple things. So the noise from the portable light, if you had actually was drowning and couldn't really generate any sound, the lifeguard wouldn't have heard it because the noise from the portable generator would have completely masked it out.
I didn't even think of that. Yeah.
Well, yeah. And then also kind of on this path, it was kind of filled with just random debris. So trees, and I can't remember if it was this one or another one, but like there was like a concrete block in there or something like that. And correct, as you're kind of walking along, even though this actually was strung out, so there was a string here saying, "Hey, stay to the inside." Correct, it was completely, there was no consistency to the bottom of this thing. So you're walking along, and all of a sudden, boom, it just drops out on you. And correct, if you're not a good swimmer or a little bit on the short side, yeah, you're not aware of that, or you've got like a shoelace or something that catches on some of this debris in the water. Again, that's another safety issue.
And it's a long event too. Like the odds of cramping or getting tired and stuff like that.
Right, 12-hour event,
exponentially
exactly.
so. Yeah,
exactly. And I had another issue with that. So at the underwater tunnels obstacle, which was down on the lake, and I'm familiar with that because they've had that obstacle there, in Worlds and stuff like that. But the first time that it was technically open, there wasn't a volunteer there, number one, and there wasn't a lifeguard there. Now, could I have done the obstacle perfectly fine? Yeah, because I know, okay, it comes out and then it drops down, and then you've got to swim. You actually do have to swim underneath the plastic barrels at that point. But yeah, that was one obstacle that I said, okay, no, I'm skipping that one. I'm not going to do that. So the narrative of this is a safety issue is, it's not just a one-time thing here. It's kind of slowly been building and building. And now, granted, I'm sure if Spartan were here, I'm sure they would say yes. All of our metrics and our statistics show that running OCR is, let's say, if not as safe, maybe safer than half marathons, stuff like that. Which I'm sure is probably true. But safety is just not something that all those statistics represent the past. They don't represent the present or the future. And so if there's a safety slip that's going on, those statistics are not going to give you any coverage on that. Basically it's something's going to happen that you're not prepared for. And then when it happens, like the death in West Virginia in 2013, then again, it's an outlying issue that now becomes, viewable at that point. So,
yeah.
So that's kind of, again, kind of just one of my main concerns, in general, kind of, again, kind of seeing the slow bleed out of Tough Mudder and then starting to see the little things that are starting to become big things. It's like, okay, we need to kind of stop and take a step back and, raise awareness of this. Yeah, go ahead.
One thing I want to add too is because I can hear some of my foreign listeners yelling at me too. Tough Mudder in the US, because I also want to take an example of how this can be done right. World's Toughest Mudder last year, there were a couple incidents of people going in the water that couldn't swim despite having the safety briefing telling them not to, didn't get the life vest, blah blah blah. The response time of the multiple, I'm talking about Firefly, by the way, bigger cliff jump with a fire. Yep. The response time was immediate, and they handled it really, really well. All of them were super attentive. It doesn't have to be as grand. I mean, that was a little bit bigger deal, but still, having the safety, it was done right. And I just want that to be done for all these events too. And if you take the view of being statistically it's going to happen to somebody, and you got to know your own strengths, this and that, but say that to Avishek Sengupta's family.
That's right. What I mean? He's the guy that passed away, or that was
yeah.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, listen. He may have been, the best swimmer in the world at that point, but under that condition, again, from poor obstacle, poor response, then he's obviously not going to have the benefit of being a great swimmer, because it's a confluence of events that usually sums together to a bigger issue. And that's kind of elements of that is what I was starting to see here, where again, lack of a safety briefing, lack of proper signage, lifeguard being, let's call it 50 feet away if something in fact did happen. Now, Now I don't know. Again, them having closed the obstacle. Did something happen there that I'm not aware of? Don't know. I didn't do any follow up on that to really kind of to find out about that. I didn't hear anything. There's nothing that's been posted in the Facebook community or anything like that. So, but no, absolutely. It's again, you have to be you have to be diligent on that. Number one, but then there's also kind of two other little kind of factors into this. So I guess first of all, number one, so this is at least for Tough Mudder, brand new facility, brand new event. So all the little gotchas about certain things. Okay, first time here, we don't know those. Plus also B, there's been turnover at TMHQ for a while. And so all that institutional knowledge of, hey, the way that we used to do it or, best practices like that, I don't know how much of that really survives from the fact when people leave and then you bring new people in. And what does Spartan do, within the company to make sure that everybody has proper safety training and awareness on, certainly on the Tough Mudder side, on both the water obstacles and the electrostock obstacles, which are not present in Spartan events. Now, a slight interesting kind of book into this. So I decided to do a little deep dive last night, and I was just kind of curious. Look, is there any type of OCR safety or best practices or anything like that? I didn't really get a whole lot, although I did find one document written all the way back in 2014 by one of the OGs, Jason Rulo, the thermoregulation king. I've learned a lot from him over the years on a lot of this stuff. And so he had a lot of great practices and stuff like that. But again, that was from 2014. And then I ended up finding this document, excuse me, this work item from the ASTM, so Advancing Standards Transforming Markets, and it's called New Practice for Standard Practice for Obstacle Course Events. And I'm like, well, this is kind of interesting. So let me just send them an email and see what they say, because this actually goes back to 2016 when they started to work on this. And the person wrote back to me and said, quote, if I'm not mistaken, this originally started from someone at Tough Mudder, and the person says maybe a Brian. So I don't know if there was a Brian at Tough Mudder back in the day. But anyway, it's still ongoing. They haven't actually finalized anything. So there may be a little bit of an opportunity here, maybe for some output of this particular conversation, that maybe we kind of get this kicked off again, or maybe get somebody within Spartan to say, hey, this is a great idea. Let's maybe somebody forgot about it, dredge it back up again. Because listen, safety is, if I'm not necessarily, or saying I want to be the guy that carries the safety flag or something like that. But, out of this, I'm kind of more than happy to at least, push on people and say, hey, look, what do we have to do here? Because, my biggest fear is that we're going to have another 2013 here if we don't kind of get this stuff under control and get it under control quickly. And that may, selfishly, that may be the end of Tough Mudder at that point, because it may be enough to kind of financially, hurt Spartan enough where they say, yeah, we're just going to just forget Tough Mudder and only do Spartan events at that point. But
absolutely,
but from the larger perspective, yeah, I want everybody out there. Oh, well, yes, I want everybody out there to be, to be safe on course. Because the other thing is that this particular obstacle, so this is also part of the 5K loop in addition to the 15K loop. And so again, I don't know what the expectation of 5K folks are relative to 15K folks. Now, granted, back in the day when there was just one length, 10 miles plus, okay, yeah, and if I recall, I think back in the day, one of the recommendations was, yeah, you need to be able to swim. I can't remember if it was 100 feet or 100 yards, but there was something in there on the verbiage. Yeah, you need to be able to do this. But I don't know. Again, now that we've added the option for the 15K and the 5K, I don't know what their expectation is. Okay, should I have been able to swim 50 feet, 100 feet? I don't know. But certainly, for those folks that may be out there looking for a fun run, or a mud fun run that's maybe a little bit harder than some of the other stuff out there. Okay, I don't know that that's quite what they were signing up for. when they originally did it. So if it was on the 15K course, yeah, maybe we could probably argue that, okay, yeah, you're at a more physically fit person that's going to run the 15K possibly versus the 5K, but I don't know.
Yeah.
So
And the big thing that I want to take from people to take from this is I'd rather this be like the warning sign than have something actually happen and then that, because I just think about how like everybody knew about that death in 2013, whether they were an avid, a weekend warrior or they'd only just recently heard of like OCR, like that was huge news. And the sport was still booming back then. It could survive that, like things are going to happen, blah, blah, blah. But like, if that would have happened now, the sport's not doing too well right now in North America. Like we can't afford that. I don't think Spartan can financially afford that. But reputationally, I don't think that OCR here can weather that storm.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, High Rocks and DECA have kind of taken a lot of that, a lot of the OCR folk
definitely
away. And, like, I don't blame them. I mean, the money in OCR has just not been, it's not been great for those folks. And so, if they want to, succeed, in that type of manner, they have to go somewhere else. So, yeah. And so again, I don't want Tough Mudder to go away. I don't want this concept of, how we do OCR over here versus Spartan to die. I don't want the community to die. I mean, there's still a lot of value here.
Absolutely.
Granted, I wish that Spartan would invest a little bit into Tough Mudder or maybe some new obstacles, just something. So there's some part of that with this conversation is, okay, look, start rewarding some of your loyal customers with a little bit, changed up just a little bit here. But yeah, it's again, there's some value here, but certainly, yeah, this is to your point. This is the initial warning sign. And I don't know if these types of signs existed in 2013. I wasn't quite as aware of the community or anything like that back then. Maybe they were, maybe they weren't. I mean, granted, in hindsight, when you look at the way that Walk the Plank was designed, we're just kind of this random, set of people that just jump off in the water, into water that you can't see. If you see 2 inches below the surface, that's all you can see. Then, yeah, it was kind of in hindsight, it was kind of this obvious thing that was, that you could certainly have maybe not predicted, but the signs were there that this could potentially be a problem at some point. I mean, I even remember if we go back a little bit, so the Atlanta race, so I think was in March that year. So I remember jumping off Walk the Plank, and then as I was coming up and then starting to swim out, I remember like one of my legs, I remember feeling somebody jump on top of me and hit one of my legs. And granted, it was, a couple of feet behind me. So I wasn't in danger, but even really then the problem was known, but although I don't, obviously I didn't really appreciate the
magnitude.
Capabilities. Yeah, exactly. The magnitude of that. But yeah, raise some awareness of it. And then again, if something with this ASTM group, if something like that starts to take off, or I can, get some contacts or just start the conversation, again, I'm kind of more than happy to drive what I can over here. I mean, granted, I don't work for Spartan. I don't, there's really, I don't, there's not a whole lot of levers that I can pull other than, this particular interview and posting the Facebook community forums and we'll see. We'll see what comes out of it.
I appreciate that extra research because I didn't even know about that aspect of it too. To summarize this before we move to like just more about you and the sport in general, just recap like things that they could have done that would have completely alleviated this.
Oh yeah, sure. So step number one, so the safety briefing. Again, both from the swimming aspect and then the electroshock aspect of it as well. And I guess I don't appreciate how well that Sean does that safety briefing. Again, I've been kind of thinking about it over the last couple of days. Sean everybody, the wave gets in there. Sean gets you pumped up or whatever, and he says, "Okay, everybody, take a knee," and then kind of settle the energy down a little bit. Talk about Craig, his story, and just kind of other things that kind of impacts as going out in the world, representing, or have authentic and Tough Mudder and how the world sees you and stuff like that. And then kind of saying, okay, during this serious moment, now we're going to talk about the safety briefing. And then near the end of that, okay, come back up, play some music, do the national anthem, get you re-energized again, and then off you go, right? And so the genius of all of that is everything kind of wrapped up into that one moment. And so just props to him for doing it for so long over the years and getting that formula right there.
You definitely perfected the craft. Yeah.
Oh, absolutely, definitely. So kind of step number one is, okay, safety briefing. And then really kind of step number two, which I don't know, again, I don't, as I look at the course map and I kind of see, okay, they called Creek Crusade a different obstacle, and then they called Swamp Stomp a different obstacle, and then they kind of swapped those two. Again, what was the original design intent of, really was the path through the lake really, instead of going off to the right, was it really kind of taking a left as they show on the course map, which actually may have been a swamp stomp of 4 feet or less. And somebody just didn't get the memo and swapped the signs. I don't really know. So really from a course perspective, okay, who kind of does, the quality assurance on the course to make sure that the course is right, that it's marked properly, just little things like that. So that may be kind of step number two. And then, really certainly step number three, absolutely for as I kind of call them, drownable obstacles. Yeah, you need to have, proper signage there, number one. And then really number two, you probably needed to have the lifeguard out on a boat, in the middle, or you needed to have, orange tape or some type of buoys or whatever that kind of directed you as to what path you were supposed to take here. Because maybe we do want to end up walking through the lake, but maybe we want to take the shoreline, which is not going to have, this big chasm in the middle where it's, 8 foot deep or something like that, because there were no markings here on the lake. It was just, here's an entrance, wide open lake, and then you see the exit over there. So, okay, well, we're just going to go, traverse down the middle of it, and then you just kind of slowly veer off to the right at some point. So yeah, kind of really, what's the intent of this obstacle? Because most obstacles are marked properly. Hey, here's an entrance, here's an exit, and I can either do the obstacle, go up and over through it, whatever it is, or I can just walk around and bypass. And yes, it was very easy to actually walk around and bypass the obstacle. Oh, but that wasn't marked as well. It was basically just, look, here's the obstacle, here's the entrance to the obstacle, walk in, and however you want to do it is however you want to do it at that point. And so, right. So for some of these, for some of these 5K folks, where this is the first time, maybe it is legitimately their first time doing an obstacle course race. Well, they don't know any of this stuff. This is all brand new to them. So again, not assuming, that whoever your customer is that's actually doing this event, not assuming that they know, unlike us, the veterans. Oh yeah, I know I can figure this out. It's no problem. Well, no, these people may not be able to do that just because they just don't have the experience doing that. And then I think also kind of the last point is, okay, when somebody comes up to, if you have that TMHQ shirt on, if somebody comes up and says, hey, I have a safety related issue here. Okay, let's not blow it off. Let's actually deal with it. And let's take it seriously here, because again, I really wasn't, I don't think treated fairly, number one. Oh, and then also, by the way, since I was not running the Infinity Wave, so I had my world's bib on, because what the heck, might as well wear something. And then around my neck, I had the 75 plus headband. So I wasn't Johnny Bananas walking up here. I was somebody that was a known quantity that has again at least shown that I've at least run previous events here. So you should have at least given me a little bit more, or taken me a little bit more seriously, versus, oh, it's just some random guy off the street and we don't know who he is. We don't really care. Okay, thank you, sir. Bye. Go scurry off to wherever you came from. So yeah, there are multiple learned lessons that need to come out of this, and hopefully this kind of bubbles up somewhere within Spartan.
And I just want to return to, again, the fact that, like, we put a lot of trust into the company. Like, you think of, the muddy lake or whatever, like you wouldn't do that if you weren't racing. Like you trust Tough Mudder to make sure it's safe and everything. And I just think of that this like situation where, you know, like especially knowing that there's a 5K, like you're out with your friends and they're all like jostling around, like, come on, do it, don't be a bitch, whatever. Like, go ahead, do the thing. And you can be peer pressured into it. And like I don't believe that people should like have to self-govern themselves. I mean, it's that mix up there, but like it should be done safer.
So let me kind of throw this one out as well. Now I won't put this all on the finish line MC, because I don't think he kind of knew what he was really kind of talking about. But so I've done electroshock plenty of times over the years. I normally bypass it now just because I don't want to get zapped in the head. Okay, I've been zapped in the head in electroshock, blacked out. Don't really feel like doing it again. I don't have anything to prove, right? Now, granted, if this is your first event, yeah, okay, maybe you want to get the full experience, if you will. But he kept using terminology of, well, you don't want to almost be a mudder. You want to be a mudder. You want to go through electroshock, stuff like that. And again, to your point of, hey, maybe you're doing a 5K, hey, peer pressure, this and the other. But if you didn't get that safety briefing that says, hey, if you've ever had a seizure or if you have mental antibody, don't do the electroshock obstacles. That's a little bit of a, I don't know. To me, it's a line that I don't think should have been crossed. You know, Clinton, you know, best finish line MC in the world. Love you, Clinton. You know, he doesn't frame it that way. You know, he would never say, oh, you're almost a mudder or you're not quite a full mudder if you don't come do this. He doesn't put that peer pressure on you like that particular finish line MC did. And I thought about talking to him about it. I'm like, nah, I'm just going to kind of let it go today. I've already talked to enough people at TMHQ that I'm sure I might get on a blacklist or something. But no, I'm joking. But yeah, so it's there's just multiple things that need to get pulled out of this that I'm not sure that TMHQ is really aware of. But hopefully now through this interview, somebody will watch it and then, you know, they will get aware of. So, you know, I'm really happy to raise awareness, you know, for this.
Yeah, hope so. Well, I guess we can start to wrap up more on a positive note. You've been doing this for such a long time. What do you love so much about it, and how do you prevent burnout too? Because I feel like that's on the top of mind of a lot of people that have been doing it since 2012. Like, what keeps you going in the sport?
Yeah. You know, what's kind of funny, I remember after the 2014 Atlanta event where it kind of seemed like they did kind of this half-ass job at that point, because I remember, so this was like the Legionnaires Loop cycle where they had this really goofy obstacle where you were supposed to crawl through this plastic pipe, and they had like electroshock wires hanging off of it, so you didn't know if it was electrified or not, but it really wasn't. It was just you know, some dummy thing for show. But I kind of felt at that point, man, is this thing really starting to slow down or anything like that? But I'm like, well, you know, there's still the community here, so let me come back next year in 2015. And in 2015, yeah, it was great. And then it kind of picked up again. I remember in 2017, you know, King of the Swingers, for example, was the best obstacle ever invented. So Nolan and Eli, if you're watching, thank you for doing that.
They were great.
Oh yeah, fantastic. And then I think for me, you know, when they introduced the toughest concept for Atlanta in 2017, I think that's what kind of said, oh, okay, hey, maybe I can do, you know, a world's toughest, a longer event obstacle. So that, I think, really kind of got me, you know,
it was a great entry ramp. Yeah.
Oh, it was. And so again, kind of funny story here. So in 2017, you had kind of the two separate loops. So you had, you know, start at midnight. So midnight to 4 a.m. was loop number one, and then 4 a.m. to 8 a.m. 8 a.m. was the second loop. So I started, but if you started, or so the cutoff was 4 a.m. So if you could, at 3:59 a.m., you could go on the first loop. So I made the cutoff by like 2 minutes, and so I decided to go on the first loop. Well, there was nobody on the first loop. There were no medics, no volunteers, no runners. There was nobody. So if a bear had come out of the woods at Atlanta and eaten me, nobody would know about it. So that's kind of one of my funny favorite stories about that. But so that I think kind of, you know, gave me this little extra shot. I think I guess what's kind of kept me going is, community, for example, um, seeing Sean, seeing Clinton, obviously, Clinton and I, we've developed this friendship where, I'll show up, somewhere and we'll start talking, but we won't even talk about Tough Mudder. We'll talk about family and just kind of other things. And so there's just that level of friendship with him. But then, again, a lot of other people in the community, hey, how you doing? What's going on in your family, stuff like that. So, again, I think that's kind of what generally keeps me coming back. I think maybe selfishly, yeah, I want to get 100 events. Granted, it's just a number, but okay, it's a, at least, it's a nice number, for example.
And a pretty cool headband.
Yeah, definitely cool headband, the crown, if you will. And also, look, the having Worlds in the UK. So I went over there last year, had a blast. It was just me, and I intentionally rented a car with a manual transmission because I'm like, you know what, I want to get the full experience over here. A lot of fun. Only got honked once at once in a roundabout, so I kind of felt good about that. And yeah, it was just a lot of fun over there. So I'm looking forward. I haven't bought my ticket yet. The oil prices is kind of putting a little bit of a damper on that, but yeah, I'm gonna buy it again. I'm gonna go over there, and I think it's for they'll do it over there 26 and 27.
Right.
And so I had always kind of had this bucket list item for what was Mr. Mouse's thing over there?
Tough guy.
Tough guy. Yeah, exactly. I always wanted to go over there. When I first got into OCR, that was a big, that was a big thing over there. But I never had a chance to get over there. So this is kind of a little bit of my appreciation, if you will, for the fact that it started over there with him. And even though I can't run the Tough Guy anymore, but I can at least go over there to the UK and have a little fun with that. So, but yeah, it's just keeping up with fitness and running and just staying active. I just turned 50, so I get to enjoy the fact that, hey, I'm in and out. I'm in a new competitive wave, so the mileage requirements are a little bit better, which is great. But yeah, it's, again, I think it's going out there, even for things that for obstacles that I think are comfortable for you. It's still challenging yourself out there because you always find something that you're like, oh, I need to go work on that. For example, in Hanging Tough, they, at least up till, yeah, I think as of last year, they had the little discs on Hanging Tough, but they got rid of those. So now it's really 2 ropes and then classic J hook. If you try to J hook it and then you get the rings and you hit the 2 ropes, then you try to balance across the ropes. And I haven't quite got the technique down yet. I'm working on that. So there's something little, some little thing to work on. For well swung, for example, I finally hit the bell after a couple of tries, but I had to work on technique for that. So just little things like that of not being a natural, athlete. Right. So, okay, I can come back and think about it and, try to make myself better. So, yeah. And then certainly, obviously, World is a completely different animal of, okay, I only got 35 miles last year. I want to go back for 50. I'm capable of 50, but, okay, let me go back to drawing board on that. So, there's always some little carrot out there that you're always looking for. So, yeah, let me go do that. I think I can do that.
And then another question, you've been doing Tough Mudder for so long too. What has it been like seeing all the changes over the years too? You mentioned Tougher, you mentioned Toughest, you mentioned like TMX was a thing. Like they had so many iterations.
I know TMX. Yeah. I think that era of like 2017, 2018, 2019, kind of pre-bankruptcy was probably kind of peak Tough Mudder. I remember, for example, the at Toughest, they modified King of the Swingers. They called it hang time. So you had that little net in the middle that so you swung out to that, grabbed the net in the middle, and then you swung down the pipe there. And unfortunately, I fell off the net. I never got that one right. But they only had it at Toughest events. They didn't bring it to Worlds or anything like that. And then I guess the one regret is not doing Worlds in 2016 where they had double rainbow. They kind of had double rainbow with a modified Will Swung, I think in 2021 in Laughlin, maybe. Can't remember. But yeah, it is tough, right? It's tough to kind of see the peak and again to kind of see kind of the slow bleed down. One of the things, one thing that I distinctly remember. So when Joe bought Tough Mudder, one of his rationales for doing so was that I think he and Kyle maybe got together, and simply said, okay, look, let's take both our email databases and let's just do some cross correlation, see, okay, what percentage of emails are in the same database, and it was something like 5%. So basically,
which is crazy to think of. Yeah.
Well, right, exactly.
Yeah.
Because but again, I'll take them at their word that it was 5%. And so if, for example, if and Joe has this this theory or whatever. Okay, look, I want to get people off the couch, right? And I don't care how they get off the couch. I just want them to get off the couch. And so again, if I still assume that it's even worst case, let's say it's 30% now of people that run both Spartans and Tough Mudders. Okay, still there's 70% that are Spartan only and 70% that are Tough Mudder only. So it doesn't really make any sense to not invest in another property that gets people off the couch and gets them introduced into the Spartan ecosystem, if you want to use one of the classic business buzzwords, right? And so, and then when you add on the fact that, okay, for season pass holders for this year, originally when I bought the season pass, hey, there were Saturday or there were Sunday events, and oh, by the way, the Infinity events were part of the season pass. Well, they took both of those away for 2026 with no warning. It was just, hey, by the way, here's your season pass for 2026. Endurance events are not covered. We don't do Saturday or we don't do Sunday events anymore. And then obviously they're not doing toughest this year. So there is a little bit of frustration, obviously, from my side to kind of see, okay, I wish there were a little more notification warning when you're going to do this before you would have put the season passes on sale. But okay, so there's a little bit of abuse, if you will, from Spartan, but it's still something that I want to do. I look forward to doing, and I don't know. We'll see. I will say this: Tough Mudder. It's not on a. I don't know. Again, it's not on a positive path, if you will. But if you invest some money in, I mean, listen, at some point, if you want Tough Mudder to stay around and grow, you're going to have to invest some capital into this thing and to come up with some new obstacles, some tweaks to obstacles, or come up with a reason for people in the Spartan ecosystem to come over to a Tough Mudder. And I mean, a lot of the core obstacles are great. I mean, they're classic. Well, Everest, for example, right? The excuse last year was the truck broke down. And we haven't seen Everest. I mean, the only time I did Everest last year was at Worlds. That was it. So yeah, there's part of that core portion of Tough Mudder that needs to come alive again, but it needs the investment from Spartan. And as a consumer of the product, I just don't see it. Now, maybe behind the scenes, it's, there's rationales and justifications for what they're doing. But I don't know. So in other words, in a couple of years, does Tough Mudder exist? I hope so. I don't know. After Worlds in 2027, maybe Tough Mudder is just a UK property with, licensees in Australia and Germany or somewhere. I don't know. I hope not. I'm not really enthusiastic to go run a Spartan, but if I need to get my OCR fixed, maybe I'll go run a Spartan, but I don't know.
Yeah.
So, I hate to be a downer, but it's the reality of the situation, unfortunately.
It's fair, and again, it's the curse of those of us that have seen OCR at its peak to see where it is now. Again, right. In North America, because it seems to be doing great everywhere else. But
exactly, yeah. Unfortunately.
So you mentioned potentially going to World's Toughest Mudder. I also haven't bought my plane ticket yet, but my wife's going to be running it for the second time. What other events do you have planned for the rest of 2026?
Really a lot more Tough Mudder events. It's harder now. Again, the goal is 100. Well, and for me, it's event days. It's not, hey, I run a 15 and a 5K and I count those as two events. I do the classic way to calculate this stuff. And so taking away the Sunday events kind of throws a whole monkey wrench into that. So I would, in the perfect world, I would hit 100 next year at Atlanta, but we will see. But yeah, I'm going to be running more events this year. Obviously, we've got Atlanta's the next event. It's a local event. Obviously, I'll be there. Got Philly, Michigan after that, Worlds after that. So I should be able to hit those. And then we'll see. We'll see as the summer goes along. But I'm going to try to roughly one a month or whatever, kind of space things out a little bit. And that's really the only thing that I end up kind of doing, really, to kind of stay active. I'm really not interested in doing, I've done a couple of half marathons in the past. It just doesn't. I'm just not a runner. I never will be. My body doesn't like to run. I can run, but it's just not. I'm just not efficient at doing it very well. So I just accept that as a as a limitation of me that I can't really fix. But it's certainly easier on my body to do OCR versus running on pavement. So
speaking of glory days too, like we used to have Tough Mudder at Mount Snow. We'd have Tough Mudder.
Oh yeah, I was there.
Englishtown. We'd have it in Long Island. This and that. Like all of those are gone now. The closest one to us is Philadelphia, which is
Philly.
Like a lot. I mean, worth going to, but like I haven't been able to do a Tough Mudder in years, and it's a bummer because I miss it so much.
So funny. So funny story. So Mount Snow. I think it was 15, 16, 17. I think 17 was the last year for Mount Snow. 3 years in a row. I swear. So there was these group of guys, and it was on Sunday, always on Sunday. And I would always, as I'm running the course, and just randomly, I would see these group of guys, and one of them was always cramping. And so I remember in 2015, okay, here you go, and I had a salt pack, so I gave him a salt pack. Next year again, oh hey, I kind of recognize you. Oh, we got cramp. Okay, here's an salt pack. Literally 3 years in a row, and unfortunately, I never got their names. I never friended them on Facebook or anything like that. 3 years in a row, I had to end up giving them salt packet or pickle juice or whatever I had on me because they were cramping. And I'm like,
wild.
I'm like, you guys need to learn, Although, obviously I was joking or whatever, when I was saying that. But yeah, and then there was another group, the group of that's not mud on my shorts. That I ended up meeting in 2015. And so we ran together in 2016, 17. Oh yeah, because they were volunteering in 2015 and they ran on Sunday. So I ended up meeting with those guys. And we ran a couple more races after that. Some of the Boston races in 2018, 2019 out of that. So yeah, Mount Snow was great. Snowmass was just incredible. I'll never forget having King of the Swingers off the side of a mountain. So when you went up jumping off of it, you had the mountain view in the background, and just that whole event was great. Oh, and so the first one on that one. So I was going to fly out on Friday, but some of our friends had a wedding that Friday that I completely forgot about. So I'm like, well, I'm still going to this thing. So Saturday morning, boom, I'm on an airplane from Atlanta to Denver. I didn't realize it was a 4-hour drive to get from Denver to Aspen, but fine, I'll do that. I'll get out there. I made the last wave. Didn't quite realize at 8,000 feet, 9,000 feet. Yeah, oxygen is kind of a problem there. So that was very, probably not the smartest thing I've ever done in my life. To go from whatever sea level elevation that we have here in Atlanta up to Colorado, probably wasn't the smartest thing in the world, but okay, I got that one. So that wasn't the smartest thing that I've ever done in my my career. But yeah, to kind of see again those glory days and to just wish, man, I'd love to do it one more time at either a Mount Snow or Snowmass. Never did Tahoe, for example. I know people love Tahoe. Whistler, I never did that. A lot of people love that also. Yeah, again, it's like I'm not old enough to have glory days, but maybe I am kind of getting old enough that I am starting to have to, go watch old YouTube videos of some of these events and relive my youth, if you will. But
yeah.
But yeah, it's been great ride, no regrets at all, and hope this thing sticks around. And I get 100 out of it. But
absolutely,
so.
And then, cool. Where can people find you and your pickle cap on social media?
The pickle cap, yeah. Okay, so quick story of that one. This was at Chicago a couple of years ago. I don't know. I've always kind of gotten the habit of wearing and I literally don't have it in front of me here. Otherwise, I'd show up. But anyways, it's this swim cap. So I wear this swim cap through cage crawl and through Arctic Enema. And it's green because that was the only thing that Amazon had on sale at the time. And okay, fine. I don't care about the color. Just give it to me. Great. So 2023 at Chicago, toughest Chicago. So Rock Wagon was there, infamous, one of the legendary Canadians there.
Mm-hmm.
And so so you had Arctic enema, then you had motor on there. So I got out of Arctic enema, I had the pickle cap on. I'm kind of jogging around to warm up a little bit, and then I got to the wall, and then Rock looks at me and says, "What's that in your head?" And I'm like, "What's a cap?" "It's like a pickle cap. Why are you wearing that?" And of course, Rock is of the mindset that, oh, hey, Arctic enema is like a Canadian spa, right? Of course, so to him, being cold is not, it's no issue or anything like that. Well, to me, it's cold, right? It's like, leave me alone. Let me wear my pickle cap here. So that's where the legend of the pickle cap has grown over the years. So yes, just to annoy Rock, I will wear it through Cage Crawl or Arctic Enema and make sure the photographer is there, and then I will upload those photos to World or to the Facebook group just to annoy him. But no, I'm just on Facebook. I'm not on IG or any other TikTok or anything like that. So, but yeah, you can feel free to look me up. I'm obviously I usually hang out on the World's Facebook group there. So
which everyone should join. If you're doing World's Toughest Mudder or you're planning to do World's Toughest Mudder, you have to join that group. If it's your first time, there's like a first timers part of the group. Like
yes,
you gotta join that if you want to be part of the real Tough Mudder community.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and a lot of great advice in there. Yeah, in 2017, I was a member of the first timers group as well, and it was great. Definitely helped me out a lot. Absolutely. Yeah.
Perfect. Well, Jarrod, thank you so much for taking the time. I appreciate you speaking
Mike.
out on
Appreciate
this. I hope it makes a difference. And looking forward to hopefully meeting you in person at World's Toughest Mudder later this year.
Absolutely. I'll look forward to you, my man. All right.
Welcome back.
Thank you to Jarrod Lumpkin for taking the time to come on the show. 4 related episodes.
We have episode 435.
Joe Rucco on hybrid racing, winning Toughest Mudder Atlanta, and more.
And episode 436.
Charity Bourne on hybrid racing, inspiring siblings, and winning Toughest Mudder Atlanta. So both of these were related to Toughest Mudder Atlanta, where, as I said before, there was a similar issue with water safety.
Subscribe and follow wherever you get your podcasts. We are Obstacle Running Adventures on all of the podcast players. And if you like what you heard, give us a review on that purple podcast app.
Yeah, you can support us financially over on Patreon for as little as $2, as many as $10. But more than anything, if you could just share the show with a friend, that's how we continue doing this, because we have people that listen. And the more people that listen, the more it justifies us doing this. So, appreciate that. Coming up next, we won't be at the Boston Outdoor Expo.
Oh, we're not going on Sunday?
No. Did you reach out to the media person?
No.
Then no.
Okay. Did you tell me to reach out to them?
No, I just figured we're going to have a very, very busy Saturday. That doesn't make sense to do both.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. But again, we won't be at the Boston Outdoor Expo because we will be at the New England OCR Expo that we need to prepare for. So there's that. But we hope to see you there. Please come swing by. I'll be doing... Caitlin said that she'll be doing vendor interviews. I'll be doing reviews at the table.
All I said was I wanted to take a lap around because last time I didn't get to leave the table.
We'll figure it out.
And you took that as...
Because I always do the vendor interviews, and there's a lot of similar vendors, and I don't want it to be like a carbon copy of the previous year, and I feel like you should do it a little bit.
Why? Because I'm chatty?
Yeah, that too.
But that if I'm not prepared, I sound like an idiot.
That's why we get it.
No, but remember the time I asked that man?
Yeah, you thought he was I know exactly what you're talking about. You thought he was from New Jersey, and you asked him what his favorite diner was, and he said, I'm actually from Pennsylvania.
No, he's from Maryland.
Okay, and you said, okay, have a nice day, and you just ended the interview. And I'm like, oh my God, what happened here?
I short-circuited.
You did. That was bad. To be honest, like my first interview per episode, I don't know if people notice this, is always a little rusty. It's like a rust buster for the most part.
No, but there's been multiple occurrences where I've just been like, okay, thank you, have a nice day.
Sure.
I've got a joke and a quote.
I've got the joke, so you got the quote.
My quote is from Jane Goodall. Do you know who that is?
Yes.
Okay, I'm just making sure.
Listener, do you know who that is?
Me?
Write in and let me know. No, the listeners.
Oh, okay. You cannot get through a single day without having an impact on the world around you. What you do makes a difference, and you have to decide what kind of difference you want to make.
Nice. My joke is that there are a bunch of and I'm doing this kind of from memory based off these two words because I don't want to give away the punchline in the show notes. But there were 2 cowboys that were strolling along, and they saw what they seemed to be a bacon tree. So they approached the bacon tree and got shot because it wasn't a bacon tree; it was a ham bush. You get it? No?
No. What's a bacon tree?
A bacon tree doesn't exist, but a synonym for bacon is...
ham?
Yep. And a synonym for tree is bush.
Hambush.
And Hambush sounds like
Ambush.
Ambush. My wife, ladies and gentlemen.
Do you love me?
Yeah. But that just wraps it up. My name is Michael Stefano.
And my name is Caitlin Ritter.
And we'll talk to you next weekend.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you for listening.
If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe on your favorite podcast platforms
So you don't miss our future episodes.
We would greatly appreciate it if you write a review.
Reach out with feedback on social media.
But most importantly, share the show
With a friend or family member.
Our intro song was Streaker by Straight Up.
And our outro music is I'm Paul by The Best.
I plan to talk to you about like your background in OCR, your love for Tough Mudder and everything, because that's the thing that I want people to get from this is we love Tough Mudder. We're just scared
absolutely.
of like issues that can occur, especially since, as you said, like you were there when, some big stuff went down in the past too. So
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. I'm more than happy to. Yeah. No, appreciate it. This is my first interview ever about Tough Mudder. So
that's crazy too, because as we'll get to in a bit, like I think our paths like must have crossed sometime. But
I'm sure we have at some point. Absolutely. Yeah. Because I mean, I've run. That was event number 89.
Wild.
For me. So, and yeah, I've been doing this since 2012. So it's been an interesting ride. Obviously, pre-bankruptcy, post-bankruptcy, Spartan, no Spartan. So, but yeah, absolutely, yeah. Just I'll let you drive a little bit, and we'll have a good conversation here. Looking forward to it.
Awesome.